point to prove here tonight. This one is going to be explosive.
Well, I mean, I want to point out also that not only do NIP have a point to prove, but they need the points to gain, because they could very easily fall into the bottom 4 teams here in Brazil if they lose this game. After Furia won that last one, this is a very, very real chance for NIP. So not only is this a pride thing, this is a, oh man, we need to be up in the scoreboard thing. And so starting things off with the operator, banning FaZe. This has been a kind of interesting one, actually, because when was the last time you saw a Thermite get banned?
I was just thinking the same. I was trying to gain access to my Mind Palace very quickly to see if I could find that information. Jokes aside, Thermite never usually gets banned. That is a irregularity. There are much better hard breaches available. Thermite still has a job and it can still be done well. I guess that Thermite goes hand in hand with maybe more of a garage rush, as it's going to make one big hole that you can get straight on through, throw some utility in and try and flood into garage with. So that could be the thought process behind it. It's rather specific though, and it does of course leave Maverick and Ace available.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, because I was thinking the same thing. You're more likely to see a Thermite be used here on the garage site if you want to be pushing in, open those really, really wide routes in using the garage door. But there are just so many alternatives that there will definitely be something else that the attacking team can find to use. Regardless, we won't be seeing the Thermite, so instead, FaZe Clan have decided to bring an Ace, which is what I would have expected them to bring. I don't know about you, Ollie. I assume you're in the same boat with that one. He's just been such a commonplace operator pick, especially on this site. If you want to be opening up the garage, you can hide behind the car outside or just use the walls for cover and throw on the Selmas, which just make it so much easier to open up the wall from relative safety. The only big difference between him and the Thermite in terms of the actual breaching capability is you know that if you get a Thermite to work, you're going to get the entire thing open, whereas that's not always guaranteed with a Selma.
FaZe taking control of admin as their top floor clear comes in. Not afraid to deal with the entirety of this map. It isn't a massive map by any stretch of the imagination. When attacking onto garage, you do still need to be somewhat mindful of the timings on things. Kind of find it a bit ironic how cameraman's playing the Jackal and yet is outside holding a run out angle whilst we've got Cyber trying to make some holes with the skeleton key into Piano, as you would expect to see cameraman maybe brought in to assist that roam clear somewhat and just gather a little bit of intel, but it doesn't seem to be hurting FaZe at the moment, as holes can be made and maybe even a backside push as Astro has picked up the diffuser. You always panic a little bit when you see Ash grabbing the diffuser. You wonder what comes next.
Yeah, you never quite know. It does look like FaZe Clan definitely have something planned, you know, holding onto these angles. We've got Cyber holding on into Piano just in case anyone from NIP comes from that direction. You do, of course, have a player present in the public bathroom, and you don't want him to be making a rotate around if it is this backside push that FaZe Clan are going for. Regardless of whatever it is, you can tell that they are ready. They're going to shotgun open this hatch, no doubt, drop straight into the site from below, or from above rather. One player from NIP present in kitchen, and this is going to be all-out warfare. FaZe Clan already
2 kills, but they do go responded. The Psycho and Julia see that play and very quickly adapt to this new incoming threat. Cameraman now inside of Archives, trying to make it work and trying to get some sort of a peek on, but will instead be assisted by Astro. Seems a down has happened in the process as well, as Pino looks to try and aggress onto this plant. Astro still has the diffuser in hand. 30 seconds remain. It is a world of time for everyone here to try and work with, and cameraman, all he's got to do is to try and cover. C4 does get tossed out, but it's going to swing and miss. Pino is now in quite a difficult and unique situation. It's not every day that you have to try and retake onto Cafeteria. It doesn't seem as though he's working with a great deal of intel, as I imagine the only camera out there is the static cam that, as we can see, has been shot out. And of course, with Jackal being a factor, it does make things a bit difficult anyway. Tries to long arm it, but Astro goes for the swing. FaZe Clan picking up round number 1. Nice and clean there.
Very clean and calculated, and this is potentially where you will start to have an idea of that thermite ban. Not necessarily because it super changed anything in that round, but it was FaZe Clan who banned it out. So they've kind of removed that potential for opening up the garage because they know it's going to hurt NIP, but they have these pre-planned strategies on alternative ways to attack onto the site. And that's oftentimes what you do see, where you get those slightly unusual, unorthodox bans, because you know that that team has something else planned. And that really took NIP by surprise. And who's to say that there isn't other options that FaZe Clan have planned? Because NIP have decided, well, we're going to go straight down to the same site. Are they going to prepare for FaZe Clan to do a similar kind of rush? Or are they going to set up a similar defense to last time, expecting FaZe to now go back to something slightly more normal?
That's the danger that you find yourself in now, is that if you, as NIP, come down here now and invest heavily in that backside, then all that's going to happen is FaZe just going to go for the standard default and try and get a plant off at the front of White Van. There's no winning in that situation. You can't split yourself too thinly on one side or another. You've got to be aware at the possibility of a backside rush, but then you've also got to be conscious that they could just come through and do something very default and look to try and get a plant off at the front of that White Van. And either way is going to be difficult to work with, because in the back of your mind, you're kind of always doubting where that pressure is going to come from.
I was very curious to see if they were going to reinforce some of those upstairs hatches that were used before, but I believe they've been left soft, and they're still going to have that presence in the bathroom as before. So I suspect NIP's idea here is to go for the more standard setup that they had before, but just remain vigilant in case of changes. Now, by this point, FaZe Clan are going to be very aware of the fact that NIP are back down in the basement, because they will have droned out in the prep phase, but they also want to be watching out for a potential roam. Muzi will be the first casualty, and he will have been on a roam on that Malusi, so straight away, FaZe Clan's vigilance and diligence has paid off. Oh, and a second kill for Astro as well.
Stinky stuff from Astro there. He had good intel and a good idea that Pino would be playing in that spot. Pino kind of announced his presence by shotgunning open the wall, and rightly so, trying to get some sort of a trade, but the damage that has been dealt by Astro is great. Not only is it now not a necessity to push that back site because you can have control of Piano because Pino isn't able to play in there, but you've got two really important kills as well. 2 C4s down on the side of the defense, and Cyber's not wasting any time. He's saying, oh, Mute dead inside a bathroom, is he? I'm straight in there. I'm going to remove any electrification or denial on that wall, open up the garage wall, and we're going to look to try and get a plant down at the front of White Van.
Now, FaZe Clan did successfully open up the garage wall last time as well, and I believe that's what they're working on now, is, of course, Cyber is upstairs, opening up the piano wall, and you can hear the car horn go off, which is often a good sign. Hearing the hard breach go off, so you know that, yes, indeed, it has been opened, and that pressure can be applied from all these different sides. Bullet playing at the top of the service stairs, and he's probably placed an air jab nearby as well for that added protection. NIP are really going to be pinched here, and Astro securing his 3rd kill as well. That'll be onto Psycho. Julio and Kamikaze, these 2 anchors on the Echo and the Smoke, are the ones left. They know that someone is at the top here in Visa, and Julio will get that 1st kill for NIP, but in the meantime, Souls is going in for a plant. It's all on Julio to try and shut that down as Kamikaze gets shut down himself, but Cameraman just waltzes on 4th and clears that up to secure FaZe Clan their 2nd round.
FaZe just look a little bit dangerous at the moment. Astro in particular, 2 lightningly quick headshots at different moments within that round, despite his low health, still just treating it like he's going to challenge every single angle like the true Ash main that he is. Really, really exciting stuff there from FaZe. And NIP just look a million miles off the pace. It's no surprise to see them changing things up here and going upstairs to console office, because downstairs hasn't been working for them. FaZe have shown us 2 different attacks, and NIP have shown us twice that they have struggled to deal with it. Just getting caught out early on the roam. Astro making a huge impact in both of the rounds that assisted his team in being able to gain just so much control. NIP are left to try and find something upstairs.
And while I want to mention that this is a problem that we've seen with NIP of late, it's actually a kind of historical thing, is that NIP have a very set way of doing things, and if the way that they've decided works for them doesn't work for whatever reason, they're not really that great at changing that. We saw that happen in the SI finals last year when they were playing against Space Station Gaming, but it's something that we've also noted a lot of over the last few playdays as well, where they'll try a certain strategy, they'll be defeated on it. Every time they try to deviate away from it, it's kind of weakly put together and falls apart easily. But when they do return back to that same strategy, they're just well read and seen straight through again. So I think the decision to go back to that same site immediately after was a questionable one, purely because it was way more in FaZe Clan's favor to be attacking against NIP, who are more likely to exhibit something very similar to what they did before. So the fact that they're going off to a different site, I like it. I think it's the right decision for NIP. It gives them a fresh start and a fresh opportunity to just reevaluate how it is they want to approach this defense.
Astro once again gathering some information for himself as the Ash looking to try and gain any sort of entryway here. Don't believe that Yellow Stairs is being heavily contested. We've got Julio playing in and around the location, but by no means is he looking to hold it with his life. There is some utility in there, and you can see the Jackal pings from cameraman are coming to good effect. Souls, how has he got himself into this position? He's already got himself into desk and finding kills. Along with the rest of FaZe, it seems, as 3 quick kills come through. Souls is looking to get this plant down. Where did he waltz his way in from? Muzi now in a retake 1 versus 4. What has happened here to NIP? They have just been absolutely walked all over. And FaZe, they've got more control of the site than NIP ever had. Muzi is trying to battle his way back. He's going to get called out after that nice shot over onto cameraman. And Souls, the support of the moment, picks up that final kill.
And all those NIP fans out there are going to be watching this shell-shocked that this is the team that they have known to dominate the world before, and they are the ones now in that submissive position. FaZe Clan just look indomitable. And the fact that it's being led by Astro, being led by this veteran FaZe Clan player, he stayed in this squad since last season, brought up all his little MIBRlings who have been brought into the squad, and they are just working so smoothly and fluidly, and it's really beautiful to watch. It's fantastic play, and it makes me so excited to see them on an international stage. But for now, I'm almost getting ahead of myself, because we're existing in this game right now and we're seeing an NIP that we're not used to seeing. An NIP who is at risk of falling into the bottom 4 in this region. An NIP who we have known this version of the team for so long, this permutation of this roster, these players who've been together for such a long time, and we're seeing them flounder. We're seeing them struggle. And this is not what we're used to seeing when we look at this team who have such veneration attached to their name, and the only thing that you can think of saying is, what the hell is going on?
A lot of questions to be answered. It's definitely a round that I'm going to go back and rewatch and try and keep a very firm eye on Souls and his movements throughout the round, because it just seemed as though he got himself in the golden ticket position just so early. And look at this confidence we're now seeing displayed from FaZe. They just walk straight in down yellow. They find a kill, get traded out in the meantime, but they're going to get a plant out here without the garage wall even being open. Now, it's a questionable strategy at best, because how do you really get out of there? But I just think it speaks to the level of confidence that we're seeing on the side of FaZe right now. That plant's confirmed. We're now going to see the garage breached from the inside. I have never seen that before in my life, as Soul is going to attempt to get himself outside and watch this plant. Nobody knows where Astro is, and that is demonstrated in the kill feed as more frags continue to pile on. Cyber now approaching from the rear side. Last man standing. Picks up a nice kill over onto Julio. Kamikaze going for that disable. Have they got the intel? Ooh, the bait and switch. Pros in this instance do fake, and FaZe pay the price for a rushed round.
I was so concerned that Kamikaze wasn't going to win that 1v1, and despite the odds being stacked against FaZe Clan because of their wild decision making that they had in that round, that they would end up taking it. It was a really commendable attempt, I think, from FaZe, just because I don't think we've ever seen something like that before. A yellow stairs rush, yeah, we've heard of it, absolutely, but you would typically at least leave the hard breacher outside to open up from there. Doing that from the inside, just rushing straight in. They didn't care about the Malusi Banshees. They were ready to get that immediate trade onto Psycho as they came in. They just don't care. They're playing with such confidence. But at the very least, to have NIP be able to turn that round around, bring it into their own control. Kamikaze showing that he can clutch out at the end there, securing the successful bait, getting that kill at the end, because he has been a player, especially here on NIP, that has had a lot of question marks floating around him just because of his poor performance, I think is the kind of nicest way to put it, of late. So to have that, good for NIP. They need to get their feet back in this game, and that could be the round where they've done it.
I'm still a little bit shocked how that went off. I've never in a competitive game of Siege seen that garage wall open from the inside out. It just doesn't... It's like... It kind of feels like it shouldn't even be able to happen. Like, you're just like, oh, yeah, you actually can. You can open that from the inside out. It's almost like a mirror window getting placed. You know, like, there's one side you can place that Selma. And it isn't that one. Crazy stuff.
You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, well, that's it. They've like flipped the script, haven't they? They've said, you know, we're just going to get the plant down and then get outside. Like, let's just try that. It's some sort of blue sky thinking. You can imagine the crazy meme guy with the blackboard waving his arms really funnily. Like, this is going to be the next big thing. Now, it wasn't necessarily the next biggest thing. It was semi-successful, but not to a round-winning point. Now I think the danger for FaZe, particularly after losing First Blood there, is they can't get too far ahead of themselves, because NIP are a team, given opportunity, will start to claw this back and turn it into a little bit of a war.
I would love to see it be turned back into a little bit of a war. I want NIP to extend their claws and their fangs and just sink them straight into the flesh of FaZe Clan. That's what needs to happen. But Psycho misses that shot, and Cyber is going to be the one to punish him for it. So already FaZe Clan are getting that in on this round. Now, bear in mind, of course, that Cameraman has been brought down as well, which puts this in a 4 versus 4. Cyber trying to get aggressive onto the clash, but Muzi was ready and waiting to get the shot. This could be NIP's round as it swings more in their man favor.
Good teamwork there from NIP as well. Kamikaze and Muzi working really nicely together. I don't think Cyber had a clue that he was going to get swung by a Mozzie as well as a clash. It seemed like he was pretty confident to go for that engagement right up until the moment where he saw there was a Mozzie there as well. Bullet's got himself into an interesting spot at the top of these spiral stairs. The default cam's still up, so you can't assume full safety. But for now, he's got himself in a position to maybe get some sort of cut-off rotation kill. It seems as though he isn't going to be too successful, though, based on the direction that the silhouettes are all moving in. Pino gets punished, though, by Astro from Connector, and that levels things up.
Once again, in the 3 versus 3, the clash is still standing. We saw that cause a problem for Cyber early on, as Muzi was using it kind of as his own human shield to get the kill for himself. 40 seconds on the clock remaining, and this is probably the slowest that we've seen FaZe Clan move so far in this entire game. Muzi, he's ready because he knows Astro's right outside the meeting windows. There was a great headshot straight onto him. Now FaZe Clan are disadvantaged. Just 3 drones are out and about for FaZe, and they've got to find their way to push in, but I don't think it's going to happen. SPSMG gets the kill straight onto Souls, and that leaves Bullet on his own. He's got to find a way up Visa stairs. He's just peeking to make sure it's safe, throwing in the flashes to try and help facilitate that, but he is limited on information and time as well. I think it's very unlikely that anything's going to work out in FaZe's favor here. Muzi finishing things off, and NIP take another round.
Slowly starting to chain them back together, getting themselves back into this thing as seemingly was going all FaZe Clan and they could do nothing wrong. But just like that, NIP within 1 round of leveling things up, and FaZe's sort of eager attempts at rushing and trying new things almost coming back to haunt them here as we progress on in this game. Now, of course, it is going to force another side change as NIP are on a 2-round winning streak. Going to take us to press and lobby, I believe. I don't believe that's going to be split as we have 2 1s.
No, this is press and lobby.
Cyber there with the IQ. That's really strange. I'm not too sure what he's thinking there, unless he was anticipating the 6th pick on the side of NIP to be onto a pulse.
I was thinking something similar because Valk is banned, and it was FaZe who banned her, so it's not even like they could forget that. And that's usually why you would see someone switch on to an IQ, especially on this map, is because if Valkyrie has been left in, she is so effectively used on this map that you really kind of almost can't get away without having an IQ. But that's not a problem. Yeah, it will help in finding the yokai drones, I guess. We spoke earlier on about how, you know, their visibility has changed. So there was a bit of a nerf to Echo. So it's a bit easier to find them even without an IQ. It should help out at the very least, but whether or not it's going to do enough for the team that would make up for the fact they couldn't bring another operator, for example, maybe, I don't know, a Zafir or a Sledge or a Buck or something like that, something more standard that you would expect to see, that is what I'm interested to see.
Yeah, I guess it's how much value you see out of getting that bringing that IQ, and maybe it's just a comfort pick for Cyber. Maybe he's, you know, he likes the gun, he just fancies a little bit of IQ, and he's been in sort of a flex position where that has kind of been allowed. Because I guess we've not got Zafir either, so we're looking toward a game that already has slightly skewed bans. So maybe that's something that is to be considered.
Now they're just placing a lot of those flank drones. A number of drones have been lost by FaZe Clan. That is something that's actually been quite common amongst a lot of the teams in this region, is you almost expect drones to be lost relatively quickly. Yokai chasing one down. I don't know if that was one of Muzi's drones, maybe? Oh, good night, Astro. That was a great shot from Pino straight outside of the main doorway. Beautiful kill onto that leading man of FaZe Clan. NIP is saying, we are not taking any S from you.
And Astro's not quite gone from hero to zero, but he's certainly getting shut down a lot easier as these rounds progress and as NIP warm up here. We saw him have the run of his teeth earlier in rounds 1 and 2, and that kind of slowly but surely has petered out as the game has progressed. Cyber now looking to try and make a bit of a challenge as he quite bravely swings in and around that big double door. Isn't going to find anything too worrying so far, but meanwhile his teammates are fighting the good fight upstairs, trying to take that top floor control, but Muzi comes out on top, netting himself a swift 2 as cameraman goes for a rotation, but there is a yokai drone on the ceiling, which is going to make things a little bit more difficult for cameraman, as he's left pre-firing aimlessly onto multiple angles, as with the drunk effect he can't do a great deal. Muzi still having that vertical prowess, It's going to make it very difficult to try and get this plant down. The diffuser has, however, been recovered. You just saw the yokai drone above your head, cameraman. What is going on? It was plain as day on the ceiling. He's got stunned out, and it was only a matter of time until he fell, as the information game on the side of NIP is looking exceptionally strong. Cyber now with a push in. 1 versus 3. Didn't amount to much. Muzi finds his 3rd and final kill on the round, and NIP level things up.
I'll be honest, Muzi has come to play. He's turned it on. After the first couple of rounds, he is in this game. And it's certainly nice to see, because things being equalized at the half, almost quintessentially Consulate, right? It's like if you have 2 pretty evenly matched teams that are playing on Consulate, you would expect a 3-3, I would say, these days. So I don't know, man. It looked incredibly dominant from FaZe Clan at the start, and now NIP are back to fight. And part of me wonders if maybe FaZe Clan's lack of success on that last round came from the fact that in this region, you're a lot more likely to see archives tellers than you are lobby press. Just that's something I've noticed over the last few play days, so maybe they didn't feel quite as prepared. And obviously, one thing that we discussed was that their decision to bring an IQ was potentially based on a certain assumption about NIP's defense that didn't come to be, and so FaZe Clan was sort of left wondering what to do, or not necessarily be able to make a push that they were planning to do. Now they're moving on over to the defense, and they are also going to start down on the garage. And this is where it'll be interesting to see if that thermite ban does end up having much of an impact. NIP have decided to bring 2 hard breaches, so they have the Havana and they also have the Ace. The Ace being the one that we spoke about being quite standard to attack onto this site. And that'll be Kamikaze taking on that operator. It's one that he's been playing quite a lot of recently. So maybe that thermite ban isn't going to hurt them quite so much.
I mean, if you were going to say that the thermite ban was a target ban, you would say that it was targeted toward Kamikaze.
Yeah.
But as you say, it quite possibly could be. But we have seen him playing quite a lot of Ace. Now, I'm not sure if that's just the situations that he's found himself in, and on Consulate, Kamikaze would much prefer to play thermite. Like, that might be the case. But it does just seem to remove... I mean, the only obvious thing it seems to remove, for my money, is that you remove the ability to have that rush plant where the garage wall gets open and then all sort of Hellfire and Fury rains on through, because the Selmas, the charges that Ace has to open up hard walls, do just operate a little bit slower. You're still going to have that potential to flood on in, but it isn't going to be immediately after the wall has been opened. A C4 toss from cameraman hits its mark as Pino struggles somewhat greatly to shoot that thing mid-air.
I love it. I mean, not that it's even a particularly obscure way of setting up the site to have, you know, the floor, the holes in the floor and the walls so that you can get the yellow stairs like that, but just the perfect arc, it never fails to impress me. And that was a really nice kill onto Pino, which will also make it harder for the... Ooh, that was also quite nice. It will also make it harder for the piano floor to be opened up as well, because he was being brought along on the sledge. That's really important soft destruction that has now been lost for NIP. So I would say that in terms of who's the more valuable operator to have lost out of Sledge and Jaeger, I would argue at this point the Sledge.
Yeah, Cyber and Bullet did a nice job there of hassling on the roam and wasting a little bit of time. It's now allowed him opportunity to make a rotation back. Sure, Muzi's got that top floor control that he was after, but it looks as though Bullet's at least going to make himself back to site. Okay, he's not full health, but he isn't going to be too mad about it. Cameraman with a swing, still threatening inside of this antechamber area. As top floor control has been gained, but don't forget we're attacking onto garage here. There's still a lot of work left for NIP to try and do. As Julio pushes in, gets caught out in a Banshee. That's going to give Cameraman all the warning that he needs to pre-fire his way through. And the time will continue to tick. Psycho now tries to join in on the action, but again, caught out in a single piece of utility that you've got to question why it hasn't been dealt with at the 25-second mark. You can hear Xcaros pellets being detonated as well as an easy swing for cameraman nets him a kill. He's going to get downed, but he isn't going to be too mad. 15 seconds is all that lies in between FaZe and this being a round win for them. Kamikaze cut off by the Toxic Babe canisters. He's still trying to get some sort of an angle in onto site, but look at how much utility remains. There's shields, there's Goyos, there's Malusis. There is everything that you could possibly wish for as a defender, and it all works together, pulling in the same direction. FaZe Clan pick the round.
Ninjas in Pyjamas kind of infamous for some of their slow pushes, and we really felt it in that round. As you noted at the very end, there's so much utility left up, even just those Malusi Banshees, present in the lobby. If you know that you're wanting to push through there, and you know that there's very likely someone going to be in the bathroom, because there almost definitely always is when you're defending Garage, then you know that there's probably going to be utility placed there to stop you from pushing through, knowing that you need to open up the floors in Antechamber and in Piano. And even then, that's all based on assumption. You should know because you should have droned. And the point I'm making here is they had a Zafir on their side. It would have taken 3 seconds to get her around and lifeline that out of the way, or clear it maybe with a nade that was being brought. I mean, I suppose Pino did die very early, so he wasn't able to do that. But as you mentioned, just why wasn't this being dealt with? You know, the fact that that Banshee was there gave away the location of Psycho so easily. It gave away the location of man, was it Julio who also went through there? It was another one of the players. Just that sound cue can be so valuable. So you can never underestimate how much you need to remove a certain piece of utility, because you'll be the one who gets hurt for it.
You could kind of understand if we were dealing with a team that isn't as accomplished as NIP, saying, oh, you know, they lost the sledge, that's a large portion of their soft destruction to deal with a lot of that utility. And the nades and all that. You can kind of understand that being like an argument if you were talking about a lesser team. But we're dealing with a very accomplished team here, so you would expect them to be able to deal with losing any one of the pieces of their utility. You know, save perhaps the hard breach site dependent, but you would expect them to be able to somewhat try and solve those problems and come up with solutions. And it just seems as though from that moment onward, everything was kind of doomed to fail for them, and they just couldn't make anything stick. Now, that's not going to cut it against FaZe, because they are going to try and harass, they are going to try and get early advantages, and you can't really give them that much room to work with. Now, it looks as though we've got the classic sort of dock mute setup on the top of those yellow stairs. It can be a tough one to deal with. How are NIP going to choose to try and crack this open?
You know what's really interesting as well is typically with this kind of setup, you would also expect to see a Jaeger. Do you see a Jaeger? I don't. In fact, I don't see any way to stop any throwables. No ADS. There's no Wamai discs. Nothing. So you want to throw in a nade? You want to throw in some flashes? Go right ahead. You are more than welcome to, because there's really nothing to stop you. And sure, you have all these 3 armors who are very heavy and they can be really valuable in the late round and, you know, things like that. But it doesn't necessarily stop NIP from being able to gain advantage earlier on. Now, I say that as if we're still in the early round. Actually, a lot of time has ticked down as we're in the second half of this round already, and barely anything has happened. Pino's just holding on to this angle into the yellow stairs, and you can see another one of his teammates is making his way up, while Astro's just patiently waiting with the C4, finally throws it out, and that will delete some of Pino's health, as some of Astro's health gets deleted in return because of the nade. Second one comes in, Astro's getting stimmed up, and he's down on a tiny amount, but he can still catch out Pino, immediately turning around to the bathroom window, but finds nobody, and he knows that Julio is just not far away, but he also is so low. Psycho gets a kill onto Bullet, and we're getting further into the last quarter, or the last 30 seconds, sorry, of this round.
what about that for teamwork? You don't need a Jaeger if you've got a cameraman behind you with a stim pistol that's going to keep you alive. Now, that remains to be seen for the remainder of this round, as there isn't a great deal of health left on Astro, and as the flashbangs come in, it's going to be quite difficult to gain visual, but Souls takes a nice kill over onto Psycho. Kamikaze continuing to pressure, diffuser down there as cameraman confirms that kill, and well, they all come up orange, lighting us up for FaZe. Cameraman and Souls finding those last three, as despite no Jaeger, despite no Wamai, and with a couple of nades, it was still a tough job for NIP to try and clear that top floor. FaZe showing their prowess here on Consulate.
I mean, it works so perfectly because the dock was so safe. It meant that he knew, or sorry, the smoke knew that he could stand there quite safely, tank those nades that were being thrown in, because there was going to be the overheal from the stim shot. At that point, Pino saw it as his opportunity to swing in and was caught out immediately. I mean, look at this. Astro takes the whole thing. He had the overheal and perfectly gets that kill onto Pino. Turns around instantly to the bathroom window, where you would expect there to be a second member of NIP swinging in at the same time. And even though his ADS was, well, he wasn't ADS, but even though his shotgun was perfectly lined up with where someone would be, there wasn't anyone. So you didn't have that pressure coming in from behind either. That basically meant, on NIP's end, regardless of what was happening with Astro, is that if Pino failed in his swing into yellow stairs, there was no trade potential. There was nothing to pressure FaZe Clan from behind as well, which, regardless of what you expect to happen, it's something you need to be prepared for, because there is still that risk, no matter how large you think it is, that you are going to die.
And that's just the kind of thing that you expect a team to be doing, right? Is to be pushing in at the same time as Yellow into bathroom. It's something we saw Liquid doing yesterday quite regularly. And to not see NIP attempt it here was kind of a little bit weird. I think that Astro was maybe surprised that he wasn't dead instantly, or, you know, having at least a second gunfight. As it stands, we are going to move to a separate site as we go downstairs to press and lobby. Somewhere that we did see FaZe struggling on earlier. Coming back to a little bit of normality, at least in terms of operator lineup this time. Psycho opting for a Kali. Maybe looking to try and discover some of those longer angles and harass from outside of the map. But on the whole, fairly standard stuff here. With the exception, potentially, of cameraman on the pulse. That also has slipped under my radar, but I've noticed it now. At least he's going to be able to gain intel as to where pushes are coming from nice and early.
NIP are going to have to, I think, be more assertive than they have been on their attacks so far in order to make this one swing in their favor. Don't forget, of course, that NIP have failed on both their attacks at this point, so they need to start bringing it back around if they are to convince not only us but themselves that they have what it takes to do that. Cyber is really bunkered down here on long desk, opening up the bathroom wall with the impacts as well, gives him the longer line of sight, but he also has the protection of the shield and the disc. Psycho getting the first kill onto Astro, who has been incredibly valuable to FaZe Clan and was once again on the roam as we have seen him in the past.
I'm not sure how Psycho gets that kill, you know, because it just seems like such a unique opportunity at being gifted a chance at getting Astro. It just seemed a little bit strange there, but he's going to continue for more blood as he swings the corner, but isn't going to have the quickness that Cameraman does. Kamikaze finds Souls as kills do start to pile on in, but once again, it looks as though FaZe are on the right side of things. There is, however, the small matter of the plant being confirmed, and Kamikaze has snuck that one down. 4 versus 2 now, as the pressure has been reversed over onto FaZe, as they are no longer in a favourable spot. Effective 2 versus 2, but look at how much health Cameraman has, or I guess doesn't has now, as he falls to Kamikaze as well. Cyber looking to be a bit of a difference maker here as he swings on through, but Julio just wiggling on a very tight angle on the rappel. We'll see that kill for NIP. They see an opportunity, get a plant down and take it. Much more akin to what we're used to seeing.
How apt that on the round where I said NIP need to take an attacking round in order to swing the momentum in their own heads, that's the one where they managed to take an attacking round. And once again, you love to see it, because no one wants this to be a series that's just a blowout on one side. No one wants to just say, oh yeah, FaZe Clan were great, but NIP were crap. Because NIP have never been a team that you would ascribe that kind of a description to, right? So you want to see them fight back. You want to see that tenacity that we've always seen from them that's taken them so far in the past. And it's nice when that starts to spring out. And it really feels like NIP have their rounds when you light a fire underneath them. You know, that's when they're kind of like, all right, enough.
It's like Tim said, right? They're never down for long. You know, they have their sort of misplays and the bad weeks, but they do tend to pull it out of the bag. The big question here is, how many times are we going to see FaZe Clan not necessarily like whiff it, but make small mistakes and give opportunities? Because let's be honest, they gave quite a large opportunity there to NIP. FaZe had reasonable control of Garage, and that was obviously their game plan, was to try and deny plants with C4s, which would have worked quite well had they not got embroiled in engagements on the yellow stairs, and if they'd just had another mechanism to try and deal with that. But the reality was that they didn't, and then we saw kills starting to come through, it getting a little bit messy, and it was almost as if Kamikaze saw that opportunity and said, well, I know what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go and try and get the plant down, because there's a lot of ruckus going on elsewhere that's giving me the perfect cover.
So back down to the basement, Garage, in round number 7. FaZe Clan solidly won their defense on this as well. NIP were incredibly slow in their approach. And we never really, I don't believe, saw Kamikaze get the opportunity to even jump in to try and plant. He was holding angles from outside the garage breach for a long time and really pushed back by the yellow smoke of smoke. And you still had a lot of members of FaZe Clan who were in those key positions. I'm thinking like Pillar, like Pipes, that you need to have cleared out before you can really realistically move in and actually make a plant. So NIP need to be swifter on their attack in this round, and that's going to have to involve clearing out these players like Cyber, who are out on the roam and elsewhere and have that strong risk of being a problem later on, especially when you lost Pino so early before, meaning that you couldn't open up the floor in Antechamber or in Piano. If he dies again to a Roma, NIP are going to be in trouble.
You know, Mayor just giving the game away there with that C4. Oh, it does actually get caught, unfortunately, there for Cameraman. The C4 just gets caught on the top of the reinforcement and won't fly on all the way through. That now paves the way for the nades to continue. His Bullet is left to try and assist his teammate. He's coming in from a long way away, and it's really going to be a difficult job for him to get there in time, as Cameraman does get taken out. The push comes through from Psycho. Hibana saying, I'm just going to take this one as a brute force exercise, and then NIP seem to have woken up a little bit here, finding Astro as well. This could be the round that sees us level at 5 apiece, as NIP have constantly been fighting from behind this entire game. Cyber makes his rotation back downstairs, recognizing, well, people are dropping like flies. I need to find myself in a decent situation. Bullet, he responds, finds one. Cyber, if he gets that kill over onto Kamikaze, that could be a very important one, as Bullet is going huge upstairs, finding a kill onto Julio. It certainly all isn't said and done for FaZe just yet. Information as well for Cyber to work on with, as Bullet has regained this bathroom area, a powerful position as we all know. All depends now on whether Kamikaze chooses to get that diffuser down, and so far he hasn't. 2 kills fly in either direction. We're now 1 versus 1. A C4 down through the hatch. I don't think it is going to find Kamikaze. Instead, he's going to have to push through for the kill, but no, Kamikaze comes off the plant. Bullet finds the final kill. FaZe Clan by the skin of their teeth confirm round number 10.
I mean, at that point, you didn't need the C4 to work because you got the guy who was planting to come off the plant. And at that point, it's... I understand the decision to do that. Of course, you had a guy encroaching upon you. You could have been killed in the moment. But there's such little time left. And part of me wonders if maybe he just should have stayed on it, because at least then he would have had a chance of planting. Because if he misses that kill and he's not pushed up upon, then he's missed the opportunity to plant. If he manages to plant, if he gets killed while planting, I don't know. It's one of those things, it's so hard to directly criticize because in the moment you have to try and make a decision, and there are pros and cons to each side. There is the, oh, well, maybe I'm more likely to win if I go for the kill, or maybe I'm more likely to win if I go for the plant. You got to make that in a split second because there's no time left. And I don't think it would be fair to turn around and say, oh, well, Kamikaze was wrong to come off the plant because of blah, blah, blah. It's just in that instance, it just happened to not be the decision that worked. That doesn't mean that if he'd have stayed on the plant, then he wouldn't have been pushed up upon and killed anyway. It's just always easier to see how it could have worked out in the instance that didn't happen when the one that did happen didn't work. There's a really unfortunate position there for NIP ultimately, but you do have to afford some criticism purely from the fact that NIP had such a strong man advantage that dwindled away to the point that they were left in that 1 versus 1 at the end, which should not have happened. That man advantage should have been enough to completely evaporate the remaining members of FaZe Clan and get a very, very decisive win, and they simply didn't allow that to be the case. So even though I will hold back on overly criticizing Kamikaze at the end, because that's such a hard position, the rest of the team, you should have been alive.
It was a 4-2. Like, it's awful to bring up, but it was a 4 versus 2. And Cyber and Bullet have just gone massive. Like, that's what you're dealing with here on FaZe Clan, is that potential for players to just go nuclear and huge rotations to happen, real big site retakes, impossible tasks achieved, match point for FaZe. Now, it doesn't look like NIP are going to come back from that, but they do have rounds and time to prove themselves. I think mentally is going to be a little bit chalked after a round as tough as that, but they've started very strongly here, with Pino gaining entry onto Bullet. So, Mozzie gone, no potential to use the pests, and of course a C4 as well. Selma going to open up some of the wall, but don't forget we're attacking onto Split. We're not attacking upstairs into CEO. Instead, we are working down toward the Split bomb site, which is of course a lot of visas and part of Armory.
Visa and Armory?
Is that
Hell is an Archives, mate.
Archives, that's it.
Armory? The armory that's kept in the console, in the consulate. Well, Muzi gets the first kill on... that was not the first kill, sorry. He gets a second kill onto Sol, so that means 2 players from FaZe Clan are down. So this is nice for NIP. Once again, I hate to bring it up, but they have lost a significant number of drones, which really shouldn't be happening at this point. They still have to push in after what happened in that last round. I don't necessarily want to jump the gun and say that a man advantage is definitely going to lead them to a win. But given that we are on match point for FaZe Clan, it's a good position for NIP to be in.
Astro looking to make use of these vertical angles, as is Cyber. There's plenty of information coming out here to try and make good on. Cyber got some live ping in there. That is going to be the player that's holding the diffuser as well. The game has been given away by a little fake plant, so see if they can work their way around this. But look at how much time remains. Only 22 seconds, and it is a 2 versus 5. These angles work both ways, and NIP are putting them to good work. Still, the diffuser has been hesitated on going down, but Pino all the way from the top floor will confirm 1. Muzi a second. Perfect round for NIP. They look exceptional on the split side.
I suspect that FaZe probably decided to go there just to kind of throw NIP off and, you know, learned very quickly that actually it didn't have the intended effect after all. So they're going to be going to CEO, which they did decisively win back on round number 8. And if you remember, this was the site where they had that really interesting smoke dock setup. And the reason I say really interesting is not because it's anything new or something we haven't seen before, but it's the fact that they didn't bring anything like a Jaeger or a Wamai. So it was almost like they were specifically baiting in the use of projectiles onto that area to kind of lull NIP into a false sense of security. They had the dock that they could use to stim up the smoke, and then as Pino tried to swing into yellow stairs, he was immediately taken out, and NIP didn't have anyone to swing into bathroom to try and pressure from the other side. If NIP decide that they're going to go for a similar attacking strategy, I really want to see someone on the bathroom window at the same time. We also saw Julio have to back down a lot when he was trying to push up yellow stairs because he was at such a low health. So NIP's prowess in that situation was just diminished like crazy. So at the very least, something has to change from that perspective, because given this operator lineup, FaZe Clan will be playing something basically the same.
Looking at where the drones were placed by NIP, it kind of speaks toward more of an admin side push. And at FaZe, I'm still not 100% sold on this lineup. They've brought the Wamai this time, which is much better in my opinion, to at least have either a Wamai or a Jaeger. But I'm really not sure about the doubling down on the dock and the rook. It just begs the question. I know that their idea here is to try and tank the grenades, and obviously the rook armor plates help achieve that somewhat alongside of the dock stim pistol. But I just feel like there's other things that are potentially missing, and one of those things is perhaps intel. Now, there's an argument that NIP have given the game away with an early drone coming through from that admin side, maybe just causing FaZe to try and shift their attention somewhat here.
I'm curious to see, how that would happen, because you are right, they have changed the way that they are positioned. They're not so heavily around the yellow stairs. We've had Doc move up closer to long desk. Astro as well, he's trying to hold on to the angle into kitchen just in case anyone decides to swing on through from that break room area, and that's why you have this reinforcement on the wall beside him, so that he is relatively safe in holding that angle. I like this from Cyber as well, just trying to make sure that the skylight is also safe. They're really holding on to the center of this map predominantly.
NIP appear to be coming up against a couple of roadblocks here, and it seems as though they're not too sure how to deal with it. They are slowly making progress, however, and maybe better progress than when we saw them attempt to attack onto yellow stairs and execute onto that. So perhaps it is all working for them. FaZe do seem to have been pushed a little bit further back towards site. Muzi is one breath of a Toxic Babe canister and he will be out of action. The advantage that the lineup gives in this instance from FaZe is that these longer angles now can be held. Now Astro's just been droned out there, and I think that could be his shield going as well vertically as Pino starts the kills for NIP.
Once again, an early loss for FaZe Clan, or at least for Astro, who has actually been caught out in a lot of these opening engagements with ninjas in pajamas. So not fortunate for him. There's another kill for NIP, but Cameraman's going to add 2 on top of that before he is swiftly removed off of the map. And now it's just Cyber on the side of FaZe Clan. He's the only thing that could get a regulation win, and he won't let it happen as he dies very quickly. NIP forcing this game into overtime. And oh my god, this is going all the way.
All the way indeed. NIP have done a very good job there of taking things just one round at a time. They've managed to keep FaZe off of converting that 6 into a 7 for 2 rounds now. And it really has paid all the dividends that they could have asked for. They've been given an opportunity at overtime. Of course, overtime means not full points. 2 points to the winning team, 1 point to the losing team. So there's a commiseration prize in there somewhere. And the next couple of rounds are going to decide who it goes to. FaZe starting off here on the defense.
You know, I genuinely think, this may be a bold statement. I genuinely think that if NIP win, it's an upset.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah. Which
is weird to say. It sounds strange coming out of your mouth.
I know. It's true. It sounds very, very bizarre, but it's true. And I mean, even when you look at the way that the rounds have gone, it has constantly been a case of FaZe come in looking really hot, really strong, and NIP warm up to it. And then NIP start taking the later rounds in each half. That happened both times. So, whether that... Here's my concern. Are there enough rounds in overtime for that same thing to happen to NIP? Or do they just continue the momentum that they had at the end of that last half? Because, of course, they're still starting on the attack, which they've just spent 6 rounds on.
I think FaZe have looked better on the attack, haven't they?
Oh, yeah.
They've done much better. I mean, it was a 3-3 split, but it just looked like they looked better. They made that real shocker mistake in the garage round, and there was a couple of other things, really. And honestly, I'm kind of not sold on FaZe's defensive lineup when defending upstairs at console, so I guess it's better for them to start off here and to get the garage out of the way, because they have been quite strong down here. We've seen a lot of lack of conviction, really, on the side of NIP. We have had a round come down to a 1 versus 1, so NIP certainly aren't going to be worried about coming down here. I worry about an early C4 or maybe even a run out from cameraman as he gets explosive there onto Julio. Arguably not worth as you take out the Nomad and pay for it yourself, as Psycho comes in with a 1-for-1 trade, but a kill is a kill nonetheless.
Damn, FaZe Clan deciding to get aggressive. They don't care, but it's a good job that NIP at the very least were there for the trade. It's not something they've been terrible at, but it has been something that I think they could have been better at for a lot of this game so far. FaZe Clan making the rotation downstairs. That's Cyber who is down there, and I think he was with Astro? Yeah, with Astro. So making their moves down there, ensuring that they want to have a really strong defense down here in the basement where the site actually is. They're still shielded by, well, you know, shields, which is something that NIP struggled to get rid of. They weren't very successful at that when they came to attacking onto this site themselves. And a lot of that was purely time-based, but it still could potentially be a problem. There's that bathroom hatch that's being opened, so Astro is just going to slightly move, and he... Ooh, yeah, he's good to have really punished that kind of decision-making, getting Pino, but Psycho, once again, with the trade, he's been on fire with these today, constantly having the backs of his teammates.
Now able to try and work this vertical, but has anybody accounted for Bullet in this situation? Last time we saw this round, Bullet went pretty massive, and it looks as though he's going to try and do the same again here. Now, the plant's going down. It's going to be Kamikaze confirming it, but for the time, Muzi wasn't even covering him. Kamikaze left to try and get out of this position that he's found himself in post-plant, and well, Souls is going to be pressuring onto him. I do believe that Muzi is going to be outside, in and around that van or car area, should I say, as the kill comes through now onto Kamikaze. Muzi, 1 versus 3. It's very doable for him from this location. He has a nice line of sight onto the diffuser, and really we need to see players on FaZe Clan challenging him. He takes a huge chunk of damage, finds one, but there is going to be a player prone that's looking to try and challenge, and that somebody is Bullet. Bullet, no, you've no intel. He's on your right. He isn't behind the van. Bullet, can you hit your shots? The Vector is so fast, the fire rate, that he can't. Misses a clip. Muzi and Kamikaze confirm those final 2. Muzi are down from earlier. Grave, and NIP go massive on garage.
Got to see one of my pet hates there as well, which is peeking while reloading. By the time he actually was peeking on the very last peek that killed him, he hadn't finished reloading, so it's not even like he could shoot anything for that millisecond. And yeah, sure, it's just a millisecond. Milliseconds mean something at this level. They really, really do. So that was a real bloodbath. And I really, really want to shout out Psycho on that round, because he got at least 2 trades. And that is something that is so important, not only at this level, but just in really tense situations like this where you're in overtime and every little thing really matters. Being able to trade back just completely punishes the aggression and the successes that the other team get. Because what it does is it turns their kill that they got into a failure. It turns the kill that they got and the risk that they took and the reward that they earned into something that is now a detriment to their team. And Psycho was on point to be able to achieve that for NIP in that last round. And I think without it, that round could very much have gone to FaZe Clan.
There was an opportunity for FaZe to try and do something there as well, because Kamikaze, for all intents and purposes, was putting that diffuser down entirely on his own. Muzi was playing on yellow stairs, and I imagine it was to try and cover the vertical, but there was a chance, really, that Kamikaze could have been swung or could have been challenged as that plant went down at the front of White Van. So FaZe maybe needs to look over that and just figure out and understand just how much space you're giving to these players, because Kamikaze's dangerous. You give him an opportunity, he's getting the diffuser down, make no mistake, and he's demonstrated that here and now. NIP are heating up here. They've won 3 rounds in a row, and honestly, I don't see why they can't make it 4. They're going to be defending Garage. It isn't a site we've seen them do particularly well on, but you just get the feeling, you just get the impression that everyone's a little bit more up for the challenge now that there's potential for a game-winning moment on the line, Gio.
The question that I have here is how many creative approaches to attacking Garage do FaZe Clan have left in their pocket, or are they going to have to go for something more orthodox? Because we saw a lot of different ways and attempts when they were playing back on the first half. Obviously, not all of them worked out super great. We did see the whole breach the Garage wall from the inside attempt that NIP completely punished. But FaZe Clan definitely don't seem like the sort of team that want to be playing this the normal way. Bullet's going to be getting the first kill onto Muzi, but Psycho did take a ton of damage as well just prior to that. So far NIP have been hurting. Good start for FaZe Clan as they really want to push this into max OT. It's the only way that they can win at this point.
Julio going to be playing downstairs in Archives, trying to work the vertical angle. Be quite close to Bullet there, but the two shan't cross paths. Got to be careful he doesn't get himself caught out there. I wonder, you know, if he's actually trying to keep an eye on that diffuser, because it is cold just above him. Seems as though he's at least got a visual as to what is going on. FaZe quite focused on trying to recover that now.
Julio's playing very patiently down below. He has used his C4 already. We saw that happen actually quite early. But it means that if FaZe do decide to jump down, which looks like they're doing, and actually I think Julio's rotated instead. Psycho gets a nice kill onto Cyber. That weakens FaZe Clan slightly. Julio ready to catch that kill as Astro just comes charging down the hatch. He didn't rotate all the way back to side. In fact, he was ready and waiting for that. Souls, he gets 1 kill as he's going to take a little bit of damage from the Toxic Babe canister, and he doesn't actually have the diffuser himself. That's in Cameraman's hands. They're now the only 2 left, but as I say that, Kamikaze, he gets the 2k and it's just Cameraman remaining. There are 3 players on NIP, and if they can bring Cameraman down, then they're going to take this entire series in their hands. That's exactly what happens. NIP take the win against FaZe Clan.